So while the presentation is loading, I'd like to express my deep gratitude to Cardinal Turkson, Sister Helen, and as well as Professor Von Braun for giving me this opportunity to speak about India's experiences on the traditional knowledge. Truly grateful. So I'd like to start with a quote from our own His Holiness Pope Francis, where he talked about the importance of indigenous traditional knowledge. And I also touch upon his quote, I ask governments to recognize the indigenous peoples of the whole world. So from this perspective, I would want to agree with the fact that nations play a very important role in bringing about the change that we desire, especially in terms of recognition of the traditional knowledge. So I'm here today to share India's experiences. When we are talking of India, India is still known as a land of traditions and culture. They are living traditions that we still hold very close to our heart. Speaking of that, when we are talking of traditional knowledge, there are two ways that we can protect this traditional knowledge, a living tradition and culture, from being taken away by others, as others had mentioned in the morning and in the afternoon as well. So the two major concepts that I'd like to touch upon in my presentation is the defensive protection and the positive protection. When we are talking of defensive protection, it is to protect our own rights from being misappropriated by others by illegal means, especially by way of intellectual property rights. But when you talk of the oral traditional knowledge, wherein the custodians of such knowledge are the communities, are the individuals themselves, it calls for a protection wherein it is not just a defensive protection that others would take it away, but also in terms of promoting their knowledge for better livelihood. Typically, any nation would fall in for a sui generis legal system to protect such rights. But in India, we do not have anything specifically on traditional knowledge. Very few countries like Peru, Kenya, they have enacted legal systems to protect traditional knowledge. So why are we talking about protection of traditional knowledge and what is the need for protecting such knowledge? We know it is a living tradition, it is a living culture, and all of us follow it in our daily lives. The problem comes when somebody misappropriates, and that is what the experience of India is all about. So we use turmeric in our kitchen every day. Basmati rice is a staple diet. Our farmers use neem as a fungicide, as a pesticide, very often in the farms. So when such knowledge gets patented, and patents are granted by the patent offices worldwide, it calls for losing ownership rights on such knowledge. And that is what happened with India. The intellectual property rights being legal provisions calls for only litigation to reverse such provisions that have been granted. So India went into a litigation to protect our own rights. So it took a lot of time, money, and efforts. The entire country came together. Experts from across the country, India is vast and diverse, and all these experts came together to contribute evidences to say that this traditional knowledge is codified knowledge, it is part of our daily lives, and to go to these patent offices and fight the litigation so the patents are either revoked or amended to leave the traditional knowledge part out of it. In turmeric, 10 claims. When you're talking of intellectual property rights, it's all about the claims. All the claims were revoked. In case of Basmati, out of 20 claims, 17 were revoked. Only 3 were allowed, which were novel. And in the case of neem, it took 13 years of fight to get the patent revoked. Based on this, we felt that we need to do something to protect our Indian traditional knowledge. The cases did not stop. Even very recently, as of 2018, we found that oral traditional knowledge, a practice that is being followed in our villages, especially the rural areas, was also patented. And again, you have to go to a court settlement to see that the patents get revoked. So in this context, was very important to identify the cause of such problems. As all of you know, India is diverse. We have several languages within one single country. And of course, that forms the most attractive part of India. Having said that, it was very important to ensure that this traditional knowledge, what we call it as, practice that has been given over thousands of years by our ancestors, and some part of it is already codified, becomes information to the patent offices. So they recognize this as a prior art information, and patents do not get granted. So the government of India took a call to establish the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. It's a very unique activity, the first of its kind globally, and the entire activity, which was established in the year 2001, was a unique activity of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, to which I belong. It's a scientific organization, and the Department of Indian Systems of Medicine and Homeopathy, which is now the Ministry of Ayush, to come together to establish this activity. This collaboration is still persistent. It's almost like 23 years, and we are running strong. So what is it that we are talking about, the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library? It is a database of our traditional knowledge, but it is not a mere translation or transliteration of a codified text. We focused on the Indian systems of medicine, considering the commercial potential of such medicinal health formulations. And we covered various codified systems of medicine like Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Sovarikpa, and also yoga practices. The most important part of the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, the TKDL, is the value add that we provide. It provides a link to the modern terminologies, which I explain further. The different languages that we provide this information is in English, French, German, Japanese, and Spanish. We provide this information to patent offices who have signed access agreements with us. There are about 16 of them. In addition to the work that is done by the patent offices, to complement such efforts, we also file third-party observations or pre-grant oppositions in various jurisdictions. While India established this TKDL, we also brought in a change in the Patents Act. We introduced the Section 3P, which does not allow any invention which in effect is traditional knowledge to be patented, either as a single entity or an aggregation or duplication of such formulations. So having this protection, the patent offices use the TKDL database to identify prior art information. So the TKDL, in essence, is an interdisciplinary activity that connects traditions with technology, connects traditional terminologies with modern parlance. As all of you know, when we are talking of a scientific organization, we come with the modern science and technology backgrounds. But what we are talking about is traditional knowledge, which is Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Sovarikpa. These are all the different systems of medicine. You need to be an expert in that to understand what the traditional texts also say. So we engage the doctors of the different systems of medicine to transcribe the information, which is in various different languages, Sanskrit, Hindi, Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, and you name it, it's all in different languages. So in addition to that, because it's a digital platform, we have ICT experts, both from hardware and software. We also resort to experts from across the country in terms of botanical names. So we have botanists, taxonomists to help us, and of course the language experts. Some of the language that we see even in the codified text is very old language, which none of us understand today. So this interdisciplinary activity has been going very well since the year 2001. So what is the value add that we provide? I said, we connect traditional terminologies with modern terminologies. If you look at the top corner, there's a picture of it. That is a verse, a shloka in Sanskrit that talks about a plant gudichi and how it can be used for smallpox. If I transliterate that, all you would see is what is mentioned in the yellow box. Okay, it talks about the ingredients and how they are to be brought together to address a particular indication, and in this case, it is smallpox. But if I provide this information to patent offices, I bet nobody would understand that, and patents would still get granted. So what we do is that we identify what are the terminologies used in the text, what are the local names of the plant, if it is a herbal formulation, if it is a herbal mineral formulation, we also identify the mineral component. We also connect it to the botanical names so that the patent offices take cognizance of it. Yet again, it's a very complex Indian system of medicine because everything is just in that verse. You need to be a doctor of that particular field to identify. We do not know what exactly is the plant that is used. So we mentioned which part of the plant is used for that particular formulation. So for a particular plant, it could be the root. For some other plant, it could be a leaf or stem, whatever we mentioned that. We also mentioned the measurement. So what part of that particular plant part is used in that particular formulation. The earlier traditional terminologies have been like a pinch or something, an amount equivalent to a cat's paw or something like that. We have brought in modern measurements to address the formulation. In addition to that, we also mentioned what is the process which has been followed to create that particular formulation. Sometimes we also have dietary restrictions for using a particular formulation. That is also mentioned herein. We mention in which format that particular formulation has to be used. It could be a decoction, it could be a powder, it could be something given along with ghee, and we mention that. And most importantly, for which indication it is used. From a patent office perspective, it becomes very important to tell them that this is traditional knowledge, it is prior art information, the reference, the bibliography becomes very important, that also we provide. So using this strategy, we have been able to cover 547 such books from across these different systems of medicine, and our repository is very rich. Close to about 4.6 lakh formulations have been covered, and each of it is unique within that particular stream, and these address different languages, as I mentioned. So this is the amount of work that has been going on in enriching the traditional knowledge database. As a primary mandate is to prevent misappropriation and piracy of Indian traditional knowledge, we also filed oppositions. The patent offices take cognizance of the prior art, and in 329 such cases, we have been able to prevent patents from being granted and also preventing litigation in such matters. So this is more of a monetary help to the government of India to protect our traditional knowledge from piracy and as well as misappropriation. As Mirna just, or I think Octaviana had just mentioned, when an old man dies, her library burns to the ground. And that's the case even with India, where we have several of the communities where it is just oral traditional knowledge that has been passing on from one generation to the other. In addition to this oral traditional knowledge, we also have a traditional knowledge, although codified, but it is still in manuscripts, wherein the languages are lost, and sometimes the manuscripts almost in tatters. It's very difficult to decipher information there. So the government of India has taken cognizance of this as well to protect and again codify this particular knowledge so it is preserved for eternity. So under the People's Biodiversity Register, which is under the Convention of Biological Diversity as well as the National Biological Diversity Act, at the village level, at the panchayat level, the biodiversity management committees go to the communities to collect information on the genetic resources and as well as the associated traditional knowledge. And the key part of this People's Biodiversity Register, considering that oral traditional knowledge belongs to the custodians of the knowledge, there is access, norms stipulated for both access as well as benefit sharing. So here, the PBR, which is under the National Biodiversity Authority, have documented close to about 2.6 lakh such entries into the People's Biodiversity Register. Although it's a paper register, they are also transitioning to the e-register. Today's world, we are talking of global competitiveness. There is no reciprocity. We are being very materialistic. In this context, India has taken great cognizance of the fact that when we are talking of oral traditional knowledge, we need to pay due respect and handle this information with great sensitivity. So the traditional knowledge digital library unit that I am handling, we are working towards a guidance document that is largely more on the code of ethics. We have collected the global best practices from across the world in preparing this guidance document, which will be rolled out very soon. The three cardinal principles that we are talking about is one is the free and prior informed consent, which many of you are also mentioned, where it is not just understanding the roles and responsibilities of the person who is documenting that information, but it is also to understand the interests and concerns of the knowledge holders, defining the objectives and also the roles of both the parties. The second most important part here is about the acknowledgement and recognition of the rights of the community holders. We do a lot of ethnobotanical, ethnomedicinal work. As researchers, we are very passionate in publishing that information with very little regard to the knowledge holders who have contributed to the content of that information. So here, what we are trying to recommend is attribution of that knowledge, acknowledging the contributions, so the knowledge holders also become part of the authorship if in case there's any further innovation and patents are filed, inventorship, and also partnership if in case there's a commercial venture. The last but not the least is the access benefit sharing. We have access to someone else's information, which could be a part of their livelihood. Whatever benefits we derive, we need to share it with them. So this is a guidance document that will be rolled out very soon. In addition to whatever we are doing with the TKDL, the government of India taking cognizance of the fact that we need to build the trust in traditional knowledge once again. We are talking of the National Education Policy 2020, where at the school level, we are talking about the knowledge of India being part of the curriculums, as well as the innovation policy with the National Intellectual Property Rights Policy talks about traditional knowledge and biodiversity resources. So in this context, the TKDL also happens to be part of the innovation policy, where we are expanding the scope to include agriculture, metallurgy, and other areas of Indian traditional knowledge. We are also going to provide the access to research institutions as well as to the other private parties, so further innovation and R&D can happen, documenting oral traditional knowledge, preserving the integrity as well as that the community's lives are not compromised, and also continue with our efforts with the WIPO to make TKDL part of the PCT minimum documentation. So there are a lot of initiatives from the Ministry of Education, not besides the school education, even at the college level, at the undergrad and the PG level, there are IKS courses, that is Indian Knowledge System courses that have been mandated. And similarly, the ACTIV, which is on the technical education, is also offering minor degree in the universal human values that talk about the Indian knowledge systems. We have a division under the Ministry of Education called the Indian Knowledge Systems Division that talks about internship, research, funding, and as well as IKS centers that talk about the importance of language, and also training the teachers, because I think somebody mentioned, the teachers do not know. We are also training the teachers towards imparting such education. Well, if education is one end of the spectrum, innovation is the other end of the spectrum. Towards promoting the rights of the people and also empowering them, we have also looked at the intellectual property rights, which is geographical indications. So the geographical indications is a registry of the goods that also have traditional content in them. So we have, agricultural, manufactured, as well as natural goods. 535 such goods have been registered, and we are empowering the knowledge holders. In fact, at every airport and as well as the railway stations, we have this GI stores that have been put up. This is almost my last slide here. I'd like to touch upon the international policies and initiatives. I think many of you also mentioned about the World Intellectual Property Organization. The Intergovernmental Committee on Intellectual Property Genetic Resources. They are legal instruments to be enacted. This has been going on for several decades, but the challenge is to arrive at a text that balances the effective protection of TK, TCEs, as well as the knowledge holders' rights. We're still discussing that. There's a diplomatic conference in May 2024 to discuss that. The WIPO also recommends the creation of databases for various reasons, by either preservation, protection, or also in terms of promoting such knowledge. Even in the recent G20 Leaders Declaration as of September 2023, we have recognized that traditional knowledge is important and also prevent misappropriation while commercializing such traditional knowledge. These are either actions that have to be taken, decisions have to be taken, and further actions need to be taken. What we individually have been doing is little drops of water. I think we all need to come together to be the ocean, to see the change that we want to see. I'm here today to share my experiences as well as learn from you. So if in case TKDL has been found important and you would like to see such support from us, we are most willing to do that. Thank you.